For the rest of the show, I'm joined by legislative governance expert and policy analyst Chibuzor Okereke. Good to have you, Chibuzor.
Thank you. Good evening.
Okay, so let's start with the latest report. At least 129 million Nigerians in poverty. How would you respond to that report?
Well, I'm not surprised. If you look at our development planning, our governance structure, you will see a lot of disalignment, disarticulation as to who is responsible for what. What is local government responsible for, state and federal government? And in that respect, we have continued to try to build our house from the roof, and that can never, be possible. So World Bank report, I know, every 6 months or so, and now we are talking about 129 million in absolute poverty, not just multidimensionally poor people. And one of the important highlights of that report is to the fact that even those that are employed are also living below poverty line. So our methodology even for rating had to change when we think that those who are employed or underemployed have escaped the poverty net. This report is now telling us that even employment is not enough to guarantee you away from the poverty net, and it's a very, very big challenge.
Right. So from everything that we've seen, it is obvious that we need a reset, isn't it?
Absolutely. We need a reset.
Major one.
A major reset, and that will come from also the issue of governance structure. What kind of federalism do we want to practice? Who is supposed to be responsible for what? Development planning, the best model that we know is bottom-up approach. And I see a state maybe like in Abia, I give you this instance, in my community for over 100 years, we never had a community health center until the current governor came using the Community Social Development Agency plan, where community identify projects and a particular agency work with them to implement that. For almost the same number of years, everybody in that community went to primary school outside. It's now we are trying to get a primary school for the first time. And we have had, at least democratic governance process in that area for the last 25 years. So how does leaders think about development? What kind of development planning exists? As you ask, Dr. Constance, when will the road in your community be constructed? It's not existing in any document. That is why, the first speaker, made a very valid point about the national planning. It's not the national planning system where consultants are hired from Malaysia and what have you to come and do a document-oriented approach to development. No, it has to be factual and empirical development planning that carries the people along from the grassroots so that you can know in the next 10 years, based on this plan, the road in my place will be constructed, school will be here, market will be here, hospital will be here. That is what it's supposed to be. Without that, you're going to have leaders come to power, change whatever the other person is doing, and introduce his own program. So elite consensus is very, very germane in driving this. Yeah.
Elite consensus. Who is the elite? I mean, look at what we're seeing in Nigeria today. The people that are supposed to be the elites, the custodians of your country, of your culture, of your traditions, and build the country, where are they? Because the ones we have currently in power, they don't seem to understand what this all means.
But they came from us. That is the challenge. I keep telling people, I can't find any public office holder who is an angel with a celestial body. These are all Nigerians from our communities.
So it's not about being an angel.
Yeah.
It's about having a basic understanding of who you are and what you're required to do and what's at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And that is where leadership preparedness comes to play. If you talk to major political leaders today in Nigeria, they are complaining like ordinary people. And that is the challenge. So you see gap in leadership preparedness. So if you are a leader, it presupposes that you had prepared for that office. And even if maybe you didn't prepare and something happened, maybe like a bandwagon effect, you came to power, you need to do your strategy and get your vision right. And the toolkit, you need to execute that plan. So when leaders who have power Like somebody complained that, oh, we don't have certain law in Nigeria about crime. We need that law. And the person talking about this is a senator, a serving senator of the Federal Republic with privileges of office to sponsor legislation to address that issue. So why do you complain when you have instrument of office to address that? So we need a lot of capacity development even before people get to office, because without leadership preparedness, delivering on your mandate becomes even a huge challenge. Most political officers are preoccupied with ceremonial activities. Oh, attend this program, go to this. So you hardly have time to deal with strategic issues, put up monitoring and evaluation mechanism to track progress of even policy statements made by either a chairman, governor, or the president. Who is tracking what?
Right.
Very important.
That's a very good point you make, because when it comes to governance, it requires a lot of thought.
Yeah.
It requires work. It's not ceremony like you just
At all,
mentioned.
yeah.
And most of what we're doing is running around. When you look at the current government, can you even see the paradigm from which they're operating? The reason I ask this question is, for instance, if you look at a lot of countries in the East, let's even leave the West, you would see, when you look, you will see clearly that there's a paradigm that is local to them that they are using. Yes, we live in a globalized world. Yeah, you can borrow things here and there. But that paradigm that is authentic to you is paramount.
And that is where the issue of national consensus for development comes to play. If you go to even some African countries, Kenya, Ghana, South Africa, there are certain, philosophical underpinning that each person focuses in that area. There is no argument of party or ethnicity. So we have not been able to say, this is the road we want to travel to. Just before President Buhari left power, in 2021, I believe, they launched a national development plan from 2021 to 2025. That document has disappeared.
Based on what?
But that is the challenge.
Yes.
The parameters, they said, oh, they consulted widely. But you see, where are the documents? Who is aware of that document? How does that particular document connect to a role of a local government chairman, a councillor, a House of Assembly member? What are the strategic laws we identified, legislative action that should be taken, maybe to enact a law, amend a law, repeal a law? In Nigeria today, we still have colonial laws we are using, and many other issues. So these are the challenges. We have to use bottom-up approach. The dichotomy between the federal, state, and local government is just too wide. The only time they meet is probably the way they met on Thursday and shared 1.2 something trillion from the FARC account. That we should go beyond that. And actually, we have institutional arrangement that rally these people, like the Economic Council and what. But the core of what goes on there is the real issue. You cannot be a political leader who should be a champion for development, and they preoccupy your office with a lot of ceremonies and courtesy engagement and that affect you, so that you go and flag off a project and never bother about the project. You leave office. It's a very big challenge.
So you listen to us.
I'm sorry, we saw that with the Niger Delta Ogoni cleanup, where the former vice president, and up to today, we can't say this is the progress.
Actually, that was a terrible one, because there was a lot of fanfare about the cleanup of Ogoni. Monies were voted, and we haven't heard anything about that. And for a lot of people, it is unbelievable that responsibility lies nowhere. It means that at the end of the day, there are no consequences. Nobody pays for any of these things, and we keep quiet and we move on. So there is no nation that can sustain itself that way.
You have to use your best to develop your country. A particular minister confessed he didn't want to go to education, that he was forced to go there, and he spent 8 years, and we had challenges. That place was in complete drought throughout that period. Another one complained that the former president, never asked him or anybody, how are you faring with the assignment I gave you? We can't have that. at that level. So this time we have a president who have said, oh, there's going to be a policy coordination center. We're going to do intermittent review of performance bond standing. We cannot play politics with that. We need to see people who gave responsibility, spending public resources must account for that responsibility and the productive outcome they've been able to achieve with it.
So what do you think about some of the things that were discussed in the second conversation about culture and national orientation and values as well?
Well, it's excellent. I am a member of the NIIA and the Cultural Diplomacy, the Nigerian Institute for International Affairs, and part of the focus in one of my foreign policy school engagement was the issue of cultural diplomacy, how much we can do with our culture. But again, is how the agencies under this new Ministry of Creative Economy are able to engage and achieve results. I keep asking them, you see, sometimes when you are in government, forget about the power you have, but what you can do with that power. How many of these agencies have engaged what I can call Nigerian cultural ambassadors? I've not seen them with maybe Davido, Wizkid, or Bonabo, or even in any form of engagement. The last engagement I saw with was with Nollywood people and co. You need to go to people who, through sheer determination and resilience, have taken Nigeria's cultural pride to the global center. You have to work with them because they have already carved a niche, internationally. When they are having programs, Nigeria can be showcased there. Little things about, so there are a lot they can do. So I agree, cultural pride is very important, but you see, the globalizing it before we get the localization concept right is the big challenge.
But I was actually coming to that. Currently globalization heavily frames our behavior. It's not only us, all over the world. But when you look at Europe, for instance, they're beating back on that. People are so tired of the globalization, and you can see that all the movements that are going on, they want to, people are withdrawing, So there has to be a balance between borrowing from the globalized world and remaining, authentic. I use that word again, but it's important, don't you think so?
And you see, the biggest challenge is that we don't get to define anything.
Yes.
We accept and endorse things.
That's why I asked the first guest to define development.
When you talk about globalization, whose definition are you using?
Yes.
How have you domesticated and localized globalization? Where are you in the global map? I was listening to our revered president of the African Development Bank today at the 90th lecture for General Yakubu Gowon's birthday. He was talking about Nigeria also going global. But you could see that he talked about the local concept and philosophy for technology development, including even what the African Development Bank wants to do to reduce the 47% of young tech experts in Nigeria that are going abroad and other things. So if you don't localize globalization concept, you will be lost in the world, because those who brought about globalization actually want to export something to you. Okay. So what are you exporting to them for a balance of trade, compliance?
Chibuzor Okereke, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.